Cliff, personally, I think that Mats Wilander will have his third straight Australian Open title. Stefan Edberg played a very brave match against Ivan Lendl yesterday, and way back in the round of 16, he struggled. He had 2 match points against him against Wally Masur. He has been able to come through when he really needed to, but I can't imagine that a player of Mats Wilander's stripe, who plays the big point so terribly well, will allow Stefan Edberg to wriggle out of the tough situation. So I will go with Mats Wilander. Fred Stolle, you've been choosing Mats Wilander way back when John McEnroe and Ivan Lendl were still involved in it. Is there any way you think Stefan can win?
Mary, I think that I've got to stick with Mats Wilander. I think he'll win his third consecutive title here. However, I'm a firm believer that with young Stefan Edberg, to win a Grand Slam title, you have to come through some tough matches, through adversity, and Edberg has done that. So if you're at all superstitious, you might want to go with Edberg. But I think that Mats Wilander will be #1 out here today.
Tony Pickard is Edberg's coach, and he says that his man has at least an even chance. He says they admire that man, Mats Wilander, all those other Swedes, but he still feels like his man has got a chance. I hope the weather is going to stay okay, folks. It is beginning to spit already, so I'm not too hopeful, but stick around and we'll see. This is the final match, the Australian Open Tennis Championships from Melbourne, Australia.
Final of the Australian Open for 1985, the player at the northern baseline, in fact, won the Australian junior title on this same courts only 2 years ago. And that was the completion of the junior Grand Slam for him, the first player in history to achieve that. He was a title winner at Milan last year and in the Olympic singles title in Los Angeles. He has this year taken out the United States National Indoors, San Francisco and the Swiss Indoor titles, and reached the finals of Los Angeles and the Swedish Open and the round of 16 at Wimbledon and the United States Open. Here in the Australian Open, he's recorded wins over Bud Schultz, Matt Anger, Wally Masur, Michael Sharpers, and the tournament's #1 seed, Ivan Lendl, being the first player since August the 18th to defeat the tournament's #1 seed. He's seeded 5. He's from Sweden, Stefan Edberg. His opponent is playing in his third successive Australian Open final. He's been a finalist in 9 tournaments during the year, winning the United States Pro Championships, the Swedish Open and the French Open for the second time, plus reaching the semis at the United States Open, German and Italian Opens, and the Grand Prix Masters. A dual winner of the Australian Open, he's recorded wins over Gary Mueller, Leif Shiras, Johan Kriek and Slobodan Zivjinovic. Here at Kuyong, he seeded 3 in the Ford Australian Open, Mats Wilander.
Final of the Australian Open Tennis Championships. Wilander and Stefan Edberg in a moment. The Australian Open is brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks. The more you look, the more you like. By IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers. And by MasterCard. MasterCard International. So worldly, so welcome. Times Wilander has won 4. Edberg won on a fast indoor surface in the final, 1984 in Milan. Played in Cincinnati this year and in Båstad in Sweden. That's a clay court tournament. Cincinnati, of course, is the ATP Championships on hard courts. Wilander won that.
This final match,
1985 encounter 6-3, 6-7, 6-2. He won in Båstad very easily, won in love.
Mr. Edberg won the toss.
And Edberg beat him 6-4, 6-2. Fred Stolle, I'm not sure that there's much more to add to it, but I am interested in the fact, and your thoughts about the fact that I asked Rod Laver about a Grand Slam title and what that means to these players historically and in terms of importance for this year.
Well, they asked Ivan Lendl the same question yesterday after he lost to Stefan Edberg, and he wasn't too nice about the Australian Championships. He didn't regard it as one of the big ones. He said it was in the same category as the WCT finals or the event down Delray Beach. And they asked the same question to Stefan Edberg. He says, I don't think it is important as the big 3, but it is still a Grand Slam title, and I would like to win my first Grand Slam title here in Australia.
You know, you have to put it in perspective, Fred, really. And Mary, you may want to comment on this, but they're lacking only one of the major players is in Jimmy Connors. Otherwise, everybody was down here. I don't see that
that it is reduced in stature any by lack of field.
They've had the best field they've ever had here, Cliff. I think, as you mentioned, Connor's the only one not here. Wilander, of course, is all pumped up for this match. But the thing that I feel could play a big part here is that Wilander did beat Stefan Edberg here in this title in the quarterfinals last year.
Seven, 5, 6-3, 1-6, and 6-4 the score. 4 sets.
Love 15.
Mentally, I think it's tough for this man, this young fellow, Stefan Edberg. They asked him about Mats Wilander. They're very, very close friends, but Wilander was on the top of the tree. He was one of the top 3 or 4 players in the world 3 years ago when Edberg was just starting out in 1982. So Wilander is one of the players he looks up to, and it's tough to get out there and really get down to the nitty-gritty against somebody that you really look up to. But he's going to give it a shot, as he said. It's nice to have 2 Swedes in the final.
Early match nerves. There was no reason for him to miss that backhand. High backhand, relatively easy one. That's Tony Pickard. He's the Englishman who's played Davis Cup for England, who coaches Stefan Edberg. Talked to him this morning, and I'll tell you what he said in a second. It's quite interesting. Pickard said, just as you've been saying, Fred, that they all of the Swedish players look up to Mats Wilander. He's a very popular guy for very good reason. That is John Ogren, rather.
John Jörgren.
He's the Swedish Davis Cup captain. But I can't say enough about how well this man handles himself after this.
There's a good volley back right into the corner. And it's not a bad lob, but Edberg goes back behind Wilander again. This one's just too short, and he angles it away for the winner.
Game point.
Game Edberg.
Edberg wins the first game of the match on serve. Championships from Kooyong Tennis Stadium, Melbourne, Australia. Of course, this final delayed by 24 hours because of bad weather that this area has experienced over the 2-week duration of the tournament. Second game of the match.
Did that break off?
Let's see, we've got a problem here with the net. And the net court judge moved to the center of the court just to check on the height of the net. I guess something might have happened to the center strap. We'll get 2 serves on this first point. So that first fault from Wilander negated.
Love.
One thing that Pickard told me that you may be interested in, Fred, he said he expects Edberg to be served out to the forehand a lot, especially in this court here, because the court, in addition to the fact that it's a little greener out there, also slopes down in that direction.
He didn't admit to the fact that Stefan Edberg's forehand was a little weaker than his backhand.
That's a factor too. But they had watched when we had a rain delay during the semi-finals, they watched the Wilander-Lendl final from a couple of years ago, in which they found that Wilander went into Lendl's forehand side almost all of the time right here. So they know it's coming there. I talk about them today like they're one person. Watch this.
Miss hit on that return of serve, and quite an easy volley for Mats Wilander. He's improved his volley. There's John Anders Sjögren again, who's the coach of the Swedish Davis Cup team. The captain is over in Sweden. They go down to Munich on Friday week, and we'll be bringing you that live from Munich. Germany versus Sweden, Davis Cup final.
30 all.
It was interesting, they mentioned to Stefan Edberg yesterday, will you talk to Mats between now and the match? He said, why not? He said, we're very good friends. We've been friends for years. He said, we will probably warm up together.
First serve.
Fred, you and Emmo used to warm each other up for big finals, as I recall.
Yeah, Emma and I did that at the Wimbledon, actually at Wimbledon final one year, and I feel that this team has stuck together. They've been together now for 2 or 3 years. They support one another and practice with one another all the time.
Out. 40, 30.
I don't think it hurts the competitive spirit in either one of them when they're out to play in a Grand Slam final, or any match for that matter. They're professional athletes. They know what's expected of them. Well, that's the forehand stroke from Stefan Edberg that took him to the final. Pretty much the same sort of shot. Not much on the volley from Wilander. And that one was very similar to the one that finished his match against Ivan Lendl yesterday.
Deuce. Ace.
Advantage Wilander.
His first. No, he overhit that one. Interesting that he's slicing that backhand, Fred, not using the two-hander. Why?
Well, I think in this particular match, Cliff, we're going to see many more baseline rallies because these players, as I say, do practice together a lot. They've played against one another daily in practice sessions, and they're both basically clay court players and who really on grass have to come to the net. But playing against one another on this type of surface, I think you'll see them stay back a lot more than you would if they were playing somebody like Ivan Lendl or Zivjanovic, somebody that's attacking all the time.
Gosh, Fred, I don't think Stefan Edberg would have a chance from the backcourt against Wilander. I think he's much more, he's a servant volleyer in my eyes.
Yeah, but you still haven't addressed my question. That's why the sliced one-handed backhand instead of the two-hander that he prefers.
Well, I don't think he can slice the two-hander, Cliff. That's what you wanted me to say, wasn't it?
No, I'm just wondering why. I mean, he has the two shots. I'm just wondering why he's using the slice.
Game Wilander.
Well, he wins it regardless. One apiece, first set.
And we'll let you know that the ball change, because of the condition of the court and the damp conditions and the heavy conditions, are now changing balls at 7 and 9 rather than 9 and 11, as they have been doing right throughout the tournament. Another point for you viewers, you can see behind the court, behind Wilander there, behind the baseline, you can see the tarpaulins, and they have been brought forward an extra few feet because of the dampness.
It's reflected.
Wilander is complaining to Richard Kaufman in the chair about something that is reflecting the sun behind Edberg. Apparently, whatever it was is no longer there.
Finish that last bit, they have to have, legally, they have to have 22 feet behind the baseline.
Wide.
30 love.
And according to the grounds people here, there's a good 25 feet left, even with those tarpaulins being brought forward.
The man you just saw on your screen was the object of Wilander's query in the chair. He had on something that was flashing on his jacket, so he's taken it off now.
30-15.
Sweden is in an uproar, folks, because the telecast is not going live to Sweden for some financial reason. I couldn't quite figure it out, but apparently there's a lot of controversy over there, and a lot of people very upset about it. It is going all over the world: Canada, Japan, France, in addition to what you're watching. Germany, Holland, India, Italy, Singapore, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia. This is a Grand Slam final. UK and Spain as well.
Edberg was asked in the PAC press conference yesterday how he thought his chances were to play the Davis Cup final in Munich, and he smiled. He said, well, it's up to the captain, but I think it's improving my chances.
Well, they're also playing indoors in that particular final, and Edberg, I think, plays his best tennis on a fast surface.
Edberg will be there. You can bet on it. 2-1 he leads against the number 3 seed here.
2-1.
At Memphis, he beat Gilbert. He beat Jimmy Connors there, and Noah, Yannick Noah from France, in the final. He won in San Francisco, beating Creek in the final. He also beat Anacone and Gilbert in that championship, and he won in Ball, beating again Noah in the final. He was a runner-up in Båstad, Sweden, as we've already told you. He was annihilated by Wilander in that final, but he got to the final.
Love 15.
He also got to the final in Los Angeles. That was won by Anacone, Paul Anacone. He beat Creek getting there. He lost in the round of 16 to Kevin Curran at Wimbledon.
Off.
That was a match that a lot of people thought that we should see in isolation as Wilander gets in and gets that elbow up in front, leads with the elbow on that backhand volley, punches it away for a winner. It was a match that a lot of people thought Edberg may win at Wimbledon, the one against Curran, but Curran just served too well.
Curran also served too well for John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors both to make the final.
Good slice backhand here. Stretch volley. Barely gets to it. Caught wide open. Edberg wisely just takes his time. There's that serve to the forehand that Edberg's coach, Tony Pickard, was talking about.
30 off.
And a rather tame return of the second serve, something that you mentioned yesterday, Fred, that you thought he should become a lot more aggressive on when he played Lendl.
And that's Wilander's second ace. So one in his first service game.
Game Wilander.
Oof. There was some pace on that one.
Never forget the first match that I did for Wilander was that Wilander-John McEnroe fifth match encounter that he played against McEnroe in St. Louis, Davis Cup. That McEnroe won, but boy, he showed what a quality guy he is. He went down just like you couldn't have told the difference whether he'd won or lost. Implacable.
15
and he certainly had never played as emotional a match, and I wonder if he ever will. No, just wide. Mats Wilander is going for his third Australian Open in a row.
Beautiful motion on that serve as he really jumps up. Good knee bend, arches his back, really gets over the top of that ball. That wide serve there, of course, opens up the court if you get a high reply. Well, he served quite a few double faults yesterday. Some bad spots, but first one of the match today.
Wilander has won the French Open twice. He won it, of course, this year. He won it the first time in 1982. He's only 21 years old. He was a runner-up there in 83, and a semi-finalist in 84. Of course, he's won here the last 2 years. So he's going for his 5th Grand Slam title.
Game Edberg.
But he loses the game. Stefan Edberg ahead 2 first set. For a Grand Slam final other than Australians and Americans. So the first time that any two countrymen have fought for a Grand Slam final from a country other than... I just said that, didn't I?
Last American to win here, of course, was Brian Teacher.
And there were no Australians in this quarterfinal here. That's a first also.
Teacher defeated Kim Warwick in 1980. Number 1 seed that year, of course, was Guillermo Vilas, and Teacher disposed of him in the quarterfinals. So it just shows you the strides that the Swedes have made over the last 2 or 3 years.
Sundström and Nyström. Edberg.
And don't forget Yared.
There's another one on the way too, guys. He's Peter Lundgren. He's ranked 29 in the world right now. As a qualifier, he won Cologne. He had a very good tournament in Sweden a few weeks later. So they just keep rolling along, these Swedes.
Why?
I really feel that in the next few years, this whole game will be dominated by Swedish players.
Come on now, that's not possible. It's too
Why?
small a country. I think this is one of those things that happen. It's a glitch, but it can't go on forever. Remember, and if is there something special about the program that you know about that you want to tell us about, Mary?
You know, when you listen to, I listened to Leif Dahlgren try to explain the Swedish system to myself and a bunch of American coaches.
Here we see as it goes back there. This is something that Edberg has done. Excuse me for a minute, Mary. Going back behind Mats Wilander on that first volley. On that occasion, Wilander was anticipating it.
15 all.
Go ahead.
Just saying, Leif Dahlgren of the Swedish Tennis Association was trying to explain to us that in this city of 8.5 million people...
Country, you mean?
This country, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The tennis is taken very seriously, though it's still played seasonally for the most part. As a matter of fact, he said Mats Wilander, till he was 15 years old, only played twice a week for 40 minutes at a time. And that goes absolutely contrary to what the American juniors do these days. Can you believe that?
But it goes back to the days, I can relate back to the early 60s in Australian tennis. Beautifully executed volley there, where we didn't play that much. It was after school, you got out there and played, but certainly not anywhere near there. We see that as we come into that volley, really slides that away in isolation. Look at the control, firm wrist on that volley, gets it away. I think the juniors today practice far too much, and I don't think they practice the right way in the United States. They just hit balls back and forth, up and down the courts, and drilling is not like playing matches, unless you drill with a purpose.
Do they do it differently in Sweden, Fred, that you know of?
I would think they do.
Game Edberg, ball change.
Edberg ahead, 4 games to 3. First set.
Edberg leads 4 games to 3.
weather for a Grand Slam final. Hasn't been that way all along.
$15 love.
Neither one of these players has really got their teeth into this match yet, I don't think.
30 love.
Well, Mats Wielander's 5 aces. We see that motion again. It's a pretty quick one. He hits it with his arm, and he said the other day that because of that sore arm, he's doing more. Just throwing it up and letting the racket, trying to relax and let the racket do a little bit more of the work. Seems to have paid dividends for him.
Mats also said
30,
that
15,
sometimes when you have pain, a little bit of pain, you relax more, and I think that that's why I've been serving better, and that's so true. I know when I'm serving well, I feel very relaxed, and that's the secret source of power.
Mats was checking with the lines person about the call. Edberg hesitated just a second.
First
Directed
serve.
call on that first serve.
There's
Ace.
another one. Oof.
You know, it doesn't look like it's anything really special. It doesn't look, as you said, Fred, it doesn't look like he puts a lot of effort into it, but boy, it's an efficient serve, and he generates some pretty good speed.
He gets that power by laying the wrist back in a very similar fashion to the great Bjorn Borg. And Borg took time off to try and get more pace on his serve, and he did it by laying that wrist back when that racket goes down in behind that back scratching position that we talk about.
15 love.
Again, that return from Wilander up pretty high, and you can just see how he executes on that volley.
I like his backhand volley. Edberg, I think it's better than his forehand. Just
30 love.
Interesting, both players here attacking one another's forehand. There's the first volley to the forehand side of Wilander, and he gives that one plenty of air. Good heavy topspin, but just missed. Another one to the forehand. That's 3 first serves directed there.
Yeah, well, Pickard and he decided that's what they're going to do. There's no question about it. They want to go into the forehand side on that wing particularly. Yep.
Game Edberg.
Edberg wins it 5-4. This is the first set of the Australian Open singles final. He beat Johan Creek in the quarters. Tim Wilkerson, Leif Shiras, and Muller to get here.
Mats Wilander career prize money $2,634,875. I'll tell you something interesting about that in a minute.
Love 15.
$2,600,000. Even if Mats loses here, he will move from 12th place in career money to 7th place. Passes Ramirez, Nastasi, and Feeback. That's a big jump there. He's getting it from all sides this week.
Yeah, but of course there's so darn much more money now than when those boys played. It's easy to climb that ladder.
Love 30.
Love 30, he's in trouble on serve. Edberg to get to the final beat Bud Schultz, Matt Angar, Wally Masseur, Sharpers, who had beaten Boris Becker. Sharpers from the Netherlands. First seeded player he played actually was Ivan Lendl, the number 1 seed, beat him yesterday.
Out. 15-30.
For Wilander. Best of 5 set final, of course. Oh, yeah. 2 break points.
Good rally from the back of the court, and Wilander takes the short one, gives it plenty of air, but look at the way Edberg comes over that one. That's a tough shot to play, a topspin passing shot off a topspin approach shot deep behind the baseline. Very difficult one, executed well.
Wilander thought he had a good approach, and I did too. 15-40, second serve. Set point.
Mary, from up here it seems as though Mats Wilander is using a very loosely strung racket. Can you fill us in on that down there at all?
It is pretty loose. Boy, that seems to be the way everyone's going now that John McEnroe has started to do it. Mats's racket today is 47 pounds. That is light. Very loose.
Set for Stefan Edberg. Kind of crept up on Mats Wilander there. He played a few dodgy points. One fine backhand pass, though, is what got Edberg back into that game, gave him 2 breakpoint opportunities, and he capitalized on the second one. First set for Stefan Edberg, to the surprise, I would say, of 75% of the people, more than that in the stadium. 19-year-old from Sweden.
I mentioned in the stand-up, Cliff, I'm a great believer in having to get out of a couple of tight matches in Grand Slam events. There's not too many players go through and win them easily these days.
15 love.
Boris Becker to win Wimbledon was down with Nystrom serving for the match on 2 occasions. Nearly lost it to Tim Mayotte when he went over on the ankle, and then came up and played some brilliant tennis in the final. This young fella here is right on a roll.
He is from Västervik in Sweden.
That's his first ace so far. Didn't serve an ace at all in the first set. Whereas his opponent, Mats Wilander, came up with 6 aces.
He's ranked number 6 on the Hewlett-Packard ATP computer. As we mentioned, he started out 8th in the Nabisco Grand Prix. As you take a look at the first serve percentages, about the same. But he's now up to 4th, and that's where he'll stay.
Mats Wielander's clinched the 3rd spot in the bonus pool on the Nabisco Grand Prix point standings. That brings him in another $400,000. Pretty nice Christmas present.
Oh, my goodness. I think that was a one-handed too, wasn't it?
40.
Yes, you're not going to see too many of these with Wilander on the run, and he plays a one-handed cross-court backhand pass.
Still game point.
First serve. Game at there.
6-4 first set, 1 game to love. In the second to Edberg.
Second set.
ESPN is your ticket to one of the fine bowl games on Saturday, December 14th. And the only two undefeated teams in bowl play, Fresno State and Bowling Green, meet each other at the California Bowl. That's Fresno State and Bowling Green live Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock in the Pacific Coast. That's from the Bulldog Stadium, Fresno, California.
Time.
College football on ESPN.
Mary, I see where Mats Wilander is on the changeover, has had 4 or 5 rackets out there, testing them out, and he has changed. I would think it would have to go to a tighter racket.
I do too, Fred. He just seems so flat in that first set. You know, he's not getting any stick on the ball.
Not hitting any backhand passing shots. Do you think
No,
that's because Edberg's getting out to the forehand on the serve more often?
Well, that might be part of it, Fred, but I'll tell you, you know, with all the rain we've had this week, there have been an awful lot of replays. They've been doing flashbacks to other Australian Opens, and so I've watched Mats play 4 different, the semis and finals of last year and the year before, and he always looked fresher than this.
He does look a little flat, doesn't he? And I come back to why he was trying to slice that backhand. I don't think that helps, you know, trying to hit a slice backhand with one hand sometimes and then go for the two-hander at others. I think you've got to go with the best shot you got, and that undoubtedly is his two-hander.
But it should be
30,
Stefan Edberg. He should be the one that's a little flat, I would think, after yesterday's long match. Wilander had the day off yesterday, and Edberg 9-7 in the 5th. Come out and face up to the final again today. Strong, fit young fellow.
Yeah, but you know, Fred, I think you got to factor in all the adrenaline that's coursing through this man Edberg's veins. He had a 4.5-hour marathon, titanic struggle. He said that 5th set is probably the best set I've ever played in an important match. You would think he'd be sapped physically and emotionally, but it could be just the opposite.
Oh. Managed break point.
30, 40.
Cat and mouse from the back of the court here. Slice backhand, very good control there, and he hesitates there just momentarily, did Wilander, on that short backhand, and he paid the price because he rolled that next one for an outright winner.
Second serve break point. This is a big one for Wilander. He's already down 1 set. 1 game in the second.
Deuce.
There's a composure about Edberg that belies his age. He's only 19. Because Wilander seems like he's been around so long, he's only 21.
Oh, yes.
Advantage Edberg.
Cat and mouse. There's not a lot of pace on the ball here, and Wilander doesn't get much help from the court on that slice backhand approach. And that's where Edberg hit that forehand all day yesterday, was down the line. Van Lindell was onto most of them, though.
Oh, boy. Nothing wrong with that passing shot.
Deuce.
And a
Good
big
pressure play here by Edberg as he goes to the forehand once more and plays the good volley, but doesn't cover the one down the line. He was looking for, and Wilander gets over there, hits another single-handed backhand. And to get that one down there, he needs that firm wrist.
The fact that he's had to hit so many one-handed backhands suggest to me that he's just not moving well enough.
I think you're right. I tell you, it's a mystery to me. Certainly, if I was coaching him, I wouldn't let him hit that many one-handers. It's not a bad shot to change things up every now and then, but certainly it's not his bread and butter shot. This is a Grand Slam final. He should be using the best shots that he has, and his two-hander is by far the better stroke.
On that occasion, though, Cliffy was forced to do it because I think Edberg's trying to bring Wilander into the net by trying to entice him in with short balls to that backhand or the forehand side, trying to bring him in, and he feels he's more comfortable at passing him and got a better shot at it.
This is break point again. This is the third of this game.
Deuce.
Well, he should have broken serve here twice. He's played a couple of delicate drop volleys, one off the backhand side and one off the forehand, gone for too much. Really didn't need them to be that good.
Yeah, delicate is one way to describe it, Fred. I think it's been very, very kind. That was a dumb shot, that last one.
Advantage Wilander.
And he's paid the price. Game point.
Game Wilander.
3 break points, and as you said, Fred had 2 fabulous opportunities. One extraordinarily good backhand from Wilander down the line that kept him in that game. 2 other opportunities, great ones too, though, for Stefan Edberg that he was not able to capitalize on. 1 apiece, second set.
Love.
Mats Wilander in his career has won 20 singles titles with 14 runner-up finishes. Record in Grand Slam finals, 4-1.
Love.
Tell you that, I like the way he gets into the net. Very close. Second serve that was, remember. Well, by the time he made contact with that ball, he was not more than about 10, 12 feet from the net. Certainly way inside the serve line.
That's what made me think going into this match that he'd be lobbed all day long by Motz's terrific forehand and backhand lobs. I really expected Motz to be dominating from the baseline and flipping lobs over this guy's head every time he got in so close to the net.
And he's helped by that serve that he served now twice in this game, wide to the forehand in the deuce court, isn't he?
Ivan Lendl chose Motz to win this match because of this. Right there, the ability of Motz to return so well. He said, against Edberg's serve, Motz will return better than I.
Well, he's only been doing it on the 40 love points. He's going to do it on the break points now. Edberg's still at 40-15.
Changes it up, goes into the backhand side and wins it. 2-1. Second set, he won the first.
2-1.
The Australian Open is brought to you by Nissan, builders of technologically advanced cars and trucks for over 50 years. For drivers who demand quality, the name is Nissan. By UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business. And by Michelob Light, super premium taste in a less filling beer. Who says you can't have it all?
After Wimbledon this year, Mats Wilander came over to the US Pro in Boston and won it, then went to Boston the week after and won that. Yep. We covered that final for you from Boston, beating Haiti in the final.
What an incredible point here as he goes. Look at that great angle on that volley, but that's even better.
But Wilander's big win for the year, of course, was in the French Championships in the final against Lendl, 3-6, 6-4, 2 and 2. My goodness.
Love 30.
It's not often you see that, is it? A drop shot on the returner serve for the winner on grass.
No, I think he's trying to bring him in, trying to get him into the net all the time. Obviously, on that shot, he went for the outright winner because having played Wilander many times, after serving, he takes 2 or 3 steps back. Oops.
Love 40.
Big opportunity here.
3 break points for Edberg. And he did not convert on 3 break points in the last game, but they weren't in a row like this. Surely he's going to break here.
I think we'll have to tell his coach Tony Pickard, ex-British Davis Cup player, that Edberg does like to go down the line on that forehand. And it's cost him on many occasions.
Because Lendl picked it almost all of yesterday, and Wilander, you saw him picking it there.
Out. 30, 40.
Didn't play the big points. Of course, he won. It's tough to say about a guy who didn't play the big points when he's won, but he didn't play the big points well yesterday, and he's had 2 great opportunities. 5 break points in the last 2 serve games. Still hasn't won it. Let's see.
Out. Deuce.
Make that 6 break point opportunities in the second set. And heck, we're only 3 games into the match, into the set rather.
Advantage Edberg.
Again, it was pressure to the forehand side of Wilander. That's the first time, Cliff, we've seen him strike that second serve and go in behind it on his forehand.
I think it's a good play. Break point. And that time Edberg converts finally on his 7th opportunity to lead 3 games to 1 in the second set.
Edberg leads 3 games to 1.
This match has not yet caught fire, let's face it.
Oh, I think Edberg is playing fine, and Wilander is just playing too meekly.
Yeah, he hasn't got at this stage anything to hurt Edberg. Every time he goes to the net, he's coming on something with not a lot of pace on it. And it's giving young Edberg time to tee off on the passing shots, and he's making enough of them to be ahead a set and a break.
Out. 15 love.
But remember last year's final here, and semi-final in fact, this guy didn't miss a return or serve. Not only did he not miss them, every one of them was a very telling return. He's just not making any impression on Edberg's serve. Big, big difference.
Oh.
I think he might have heard you, Cliff, as he really tees off on that forehand, and that's the first real aggressive return we've seen from Wilander.
He lost the first set tiebreaker to Curran in last year's final, then won 6-4, and then a tiebreaker in 6-2. He beat Creek in the semis. Edberg in the quarters. Going for his third Australian title in a row.
That's his bread and butter, and that's the shot that he's been missing today. Two-handed backhand.
That's exactly the point, Fred. If he can't put pressure on the server, boy, he loses the best part of his game. Yes.
40-15.
Ace number 2. You see a beautiful smooth swing. See how he throws the racket up at the ball. Good knee bend and good arching of the back.
Edberg's ahead. He's got a serve break in the second set, 4-1. He won the first 6-4.
Edberg leads 48-1, second set.
All Swedish final. Mats Wilander and Stefan Edberg, 4-1. Serve break to Edberg. Second set, he won the first.
Love.
Out to the forehand once more. Both players attempting that forehand and then coming back behind their opponents on the first volley.
I think he's decided to attack.
30 love.
I'm not sure that's not a bad idea. Played tennis, of course, as a child. Also enjoyed playing ice hockey, just like Bjorn Borg did. Wilander I'm talking about.
Love.
It's ace number 7. Wilander has been serving particularly well. You see 7 aces for Wilander, 2 for Edberg. Hasn't really done him that much good, though.
Game Wilander, ball change.
Third, easy breather for the first time in this set for Wilander. 4-2, so Edberg still ahead, 1 serve break. Remind you that they have played 5 times. Wilander has won 4 of those matches. The last one was in Cincinnati this year. Wilander won in 3 sets. He lost to Boris Becker from Germany in the final.
15 love.
Remember that Sweden will play against Germany in the Davis Cup final December 20th, weekend before Christmas. Boy, I hope you can join us for that one. There's going to be some great tennis played. Becker leads Germany against the great Swedish team.
Love.
Watch the serve of Edberg here, how the left arm goes up, and there's a big delay. Did you see that on the right arm? Watch this here in live play too. You'll see him throw the ball up, pause for just a second, and then swing that forearm, that right hand into it.
Yeah, the racket doesn't stop, though. The racket still goes on. The racket is still in one swing. He doesn't get any. He's got a little bit of a hitch, but the racket doesn't stop.
No, indeed not. But it's just it's different from the real big servers in the sport. Watch the delay again.
Because he starts with that elbow so way down.
Ball toss also is further over his left shoulder than most, which gives him the top spin.
Game Edberg.
But he wins it. 5-2. He leads 1 serve break. Second set. Mary Carrillo, I hope you're going to tune in. Fred Stoll and I are going to be over there in Munich from the Olympic Halle. It takes about 10,000. They'd have liked to get a 50,000 seat arena to stage the finals of the Davis Cup between Germany and Sweden for this year. The Germans, of course, beat the United States and then Czechoslovakia to get there. Boris Boom Boom Becker is going to be there, leading the West German contingent, and it seems for almost certain that Stefan Edberg is going to play singles behind Mats Wilander for Sweden. The open question is whether the Swedes can win the doubles. Most people think they can. If they do, surely they have the better chance. I can tell you only one thing, that the boom that Boris Becker has brought to German tennis is extraordinary.
Love.
Now, there was no question on that call. Edberg thought that it may have been wide. And it's so good for the juniors to be watching a match that is played with such good sportsmanship. No complaints about line calls, slippery courts, anything at all. They're out there playing for the Australian Championships and giving it their all.
Just like how Australia was in the old days, I think the country of Sweden, as we have another look at these two, has done an awful lot to restore grace and sportsmanship to the game. And they treat the Davis Cup the same way that you Aussies did, Fred.
Yes, it's a team sport, and you've got to be in there with everybody. I always think it's
Quiet, please.
always nicer to play and win for your country than win something for yourself personally.
Serving for the set, Edberg. And Wilander is just not able to make any impression on his serve. It's extraordinary. Watch this return, too high.
I think it's because the kick serve that you've talked about so often about Edberg really jumps up, but it's got a little more pace on the serve than Ivan Lendl had on his kick serve. And Wielander's just not able to control his backhand at all. It's getting up, as you mentioned, too high. It's making those backhand volleys of Edberg just look simple.
Look at that one. You see, there's a difference between Lendl's serve anyway, because his is much more of a slice. He gets some kick into it, but it's a slice kick. In other words, it stays lower. Watch this one, as you said, Fred. The topspin gets the ball higher than Wilander is used to. What surprises me, though, is that as much as these guys play with each other, that Wilander's not used to it. 30 love. And now,
I've never seen Mats Wilander miss backhands like this. He's missed backhands all day long.
one more miss and he'll be 2 sets to love down. And that's it. Ace for Stefan Edberg. Boy, he's in great shape. 2 sets to love, the final of the Australian Open Championship. 2 routine sets. But Mats Wilander has a winning record against Stefan Edberg, and this, although rather tame, is a surprise to everybody who's watching.
Last 4 games of that last set were all won to love, Cliff. Nobody scored a point on their opponent's serve.
Love.
And Stefan Edberg in set number 2 only lost 4 points the entire set.
That's good.
30 love.
Forehand return pretty high, but it's not put away. This one's just sliced back into play, and again coming back behind the opponent on the forehand volley. Good deep volley there from Wilander.
30-15.
Well, that's the first point he's dropped on serve in the last 3 service games.
He's made up his mind to come into the net behind serve, Fred, hasn't he? Ever since about the last 4 serve games, he's just been charging in. I think it's a good play.
He's been serving well, but he just can't find any sort of rhythm on the return.
Oh, boy. Stayed back behind that serve. Nearly paid the price. Good passing shot, though.
Comes in, but it's not. That one hits the net, so it takes the pace off the approach shot. That allows Wilander to set that double-hander up.
Second serve, let's see if he comes in behind it. I think he will.
Look at that.
Let me put it this way. I was obviously wrong, but he should have.
40-30.
And he cannons another forehand. He is just a barrel of confidence at the moment, this young man. He's just in a situation where he can swing pretty freely, and he's going for it. Can't have it any easier. 2 sets to love up, you can do what you want.
Well, if Mats doesn't come in behind this one, I bet you Edberg will attack.
Yeah.
You can't win them all. I just don't like it when I don't win any. Deuce. First game, third set. Finally, the Australian Open Men's Singles Championship. Melbourne, Australia, Kooyong Tennis Stadium. Cliff Drysdale with Fred Stolle, and at courtside, Mary Carrillo.
Advantage, Wilander.
Good rally from the back of the court again, and this one was mishit a little bit, so got short, and as soon as he gets that short ball, Wilander climbed on top of the forehand. That's probably one of the better forehands he's hit during this match as he moves forward.
Deuce.
Every time Lendl yesterday was forced to go to that part of the court where you saw Wilander slipping, he slipped too. It is slippery in that area that is close to the net. Not in the center of the court, but on the side.
Advantage, Wilander.
The top that they use that you can see at the back of the court, they pull that over to the center of the court in 2 sections. And when they pick it up, obviously, they lose a little to the center of the court. You'll get this.
Deuce.
Yeah, the system here, Cliff, for covering the center court and the outside courts is not quite as efficient as they have at Wimbledon, where they're able to wind it up on the pulleys and have the tops in a tent-like fashion.
Advantage, Wilander.
It works.
It certainly works at Wimbledon, but with the tops the way they are here, it does let a little bit of moisture under occasionally.
Yeah. Add Wilander.
Well, that's the first cross-court forehand we've seen.
Today, we finally got one yesterday, didn't we? Watch it on the replay.
There's a little more time on this one because Wilander comes down pretty much down the center of the court. When he's on the run, he likes to hit that one down the line. When he has a chance to plant his front foot, that one he took cross-court.
Deuce again.
Advantage, Wilander. Game, Wilander.
Wilander holds serve. First game, third set. 2 sets to love for Edberg. First game of the third set, trailing 2 sets to love in a match that has not yet caught fire.
Love.
Accuracy and efficiency that epitomizes Mats Wilander, the world's number 3 player, is missing so far.
Love. First serve. Love.
I don't know whether it's a factor, but we are going to try to find out. As a matter of fact, you have not heard from Mary Carrillo in just a while. Watch the serve again. Ace.
First
Because
serve.
she has gone to try to find out from Todd Snyder, who is the trainer, ATP trainer on site. Look at those aces. 8 for Wilander, 4 for Edberg. To see whether he's hurting, ailing. Of course, we talked all weekend long about the fact that he's got an elbow brace on.
40-15. Not up. Game, Edberg.
1 game all, third set.
1 game all.
Pretty confident, Cliff, isn't he? To go for a stop volley like that, you've got to be pinpointing the ball. You've got to be pretty accurate. And you've got to be awfully confident.
Mary's back. What did you find out, Mary?
Todd Snyder said that Mats hasn't been getting any extra treatment. He said he's as well as he was a couple of days ago. But I'll tell you, I've got my own theory.
What is it?
Well, I just think that as a concession to his elbow problem, Wilander has, experimented in these lighter weight, the lighter string tensions, and I just don't think he's got any feel for it. I think he should, if he wants to win this match, he can't do it being so unaccustomed to 47 pounds of tension in his frame.
When did he start with that, Mary?
Just a few days ago.
How about the last match?
Love, 30.
I'm not sure. I think he used it on that last match. But, I don't think that means too much just to have played, one match. Even though you might have played it well, I still think you might shake a little bit. I don't know. It's just a guess of mine.
Snyder have anything else to say about his condition or any reason for why he's not playing as well?
No.
30 love. I should say love 30. 2 points from another break. Oh, that's a great shot. Well disguised. Remember that great backhand he hit down the line last time he broke Mats' serve.
Love, 40.
Changed it up that time, and Mats Wilander is in all kinds of trouble. 2 sets down, love 40. 1 game apiece in this third set.
$15-40.
Trying to play a drop shot there.
Worked once before, but it's not your high percentage play, is it? Ace.
$30-40.
Edberg's got to do it because, Wilander is one of the greats, one of the really great players. He can come back. When you get your chances, you should take him. This is his 3rd break point in a row. And he did exactly the right thing by attacking the second serve. 2 games to 1. Ace break, 2 sets to love. The next voices that you will hear will be those of Peter Landy and Alan Stone of Channel 7 here in Australia. Let's see how they view this match and what they say about it.
love 15. First serve.
Gee, that's a good volley.
15 all.
And we watch Edberg here. We've seen plenty of that in this match. In quickly, always inside the service line for that first volley. There it is again.
30, 15.
And today it's just proving that a good serve volleyer is going to beat a good ground stroker on the grass.
Well, it happened in the ladies'
First
final
serve.
too, Alan, didn't it?
Yes.
It's Martina victorious over Chrissy Everett-Lloyd.
And Rod Laver, when he was here, made a very pertinent comment about the grass and some of the players complaining about the bounces. He says, well, the way to get around that is get in and volley the ball.
Pretty logical when you think about it.
30 all.
So a good return, and gee, we haven't seen much of that from Wilander.
And herein lies perhaps his best opportunity in the match so far to get a break of serve on Edberg, who hasn't been down a break point and hasn't been taken to deuce on his service.
First serve.
Again, that kick on the second
40,
serve
30.
causing Wilander the problem, Alan.
Yes. See how high he had to play that. Got it back quite well and fairly awkwardly, pretty much at Edberg, but his confidence is so high at the moment he could still put away the volley.
Game Edberg. 3 games to 1.
Well, time running out now for Mats Wilander, the defending champion. The chances of him making 3 in a row don't look too bright at this stage. Not that he's playing all that badly, but he's just being outplayed today.
Crowd giving him plenty of encouragement.
15 love.
Been a very popular player since coming to Australia first, Mats Wilander.
30 love.
10 aces. The thing that people like about him and the Swedish players in general, they always have a go.
Interesting
40
stuff from
love.
Peter Landy and Alan Stone. You're back with Fred Stolle, Mary Carrillo, and Cliff Drysdale. If Mats loses this first, it'll be the first time he has lost in a singles match on this court. He's won this championship 2 times. And Davis Cup tied 3 years ago. He won both his singles. Here.
Forty, 15.
Not a very well executed topspin lob there from Wilander. As Alan Stone, our Australian friend, said, he's just being outplayed today, Wilander, by a man that's serving and volleying
Game
superbly.
Wilander.
I don't think Mats is playing as well as he can play, without question. 3 games to 1 he trails.
Edberg leads 3 games to 2.
Channel 7, thank you so much. The pictures have been great. Hospitality wonderful.
love 15.
Well, this is the first time we've seen him play that little short one and come in, wraps it back there. Good reflexes. But he's in all sorts of trouble at the moment, Mats Wilander. Again to the forehand.
15 all.
Both these players have had long years as far as the number of tournaments they've both played. This is their 19th tournament. 19th for Edberg. He's played 3 Davis Cup ties for Sweden. Easy pickings there.
30, 15.
Mats Wielander's played 19 tournaments, 3 World Cup ties, and a couple of Davis Cup matches. In isolation, just see how simple that overhead was for Stefan Edberg.
2 sets to love, 3-2, 30-15, Edberg.
This is their final tournament of the year. They have the Davis Cup finals to play. And they'll both probably start again as they did last year with the Ebel US Pro Indoors in Philadelphia, the first indoor tournament in the United States, late January.
Fred, they will start a little
After the
before that.
Masters.
There you go.
40, 15.
That'll be a big one. In fact, ESPN will be there.
The Masters is still pretty much considered as the finals of the 85 season. Played in the middle of January. Can't quite understand that.
Now, that's going to change, though.
Oh, beautiful swinging serve there by Stefan Edberg, and I'm sure he feels that
Edberg leads 4 games to 2.
he can taste it now. Big serve there, took his ace tally to 5.
57, 56, about the same in terms of percentages, but certainly not in effectiveness. Edberg has been all over the world's number 3 and Sweden's number 1 player.
15 love.
Now just shaking the racket, saying, okay, steady on there. We've got it here. Just don't lose it. Don't let it get away.
Love. Love.
We remind you that this is the rain-delayed final, and it's only the second time in the tournament's history that they've had to go a day over.
Ace
Was a let.
called a let.
First serve. Richard. 40-15.
It's really something that not only is Mats Wilander being beaten at the net by Stefan Edberg, but he's being beaten off the ground by him as well.
Yes, you would never predict that, would you? Particularly off the ground. At the net, we gave the edge to Edberg on the volleys.
Oh, look at that. Talk about the man playing with a great deal of confidence. Edberg says, listen, I think I got this thing wrapped.
Just shows you what happens when you're a couple of sets in front and you're in break in the third. You can just go over there and take a full swing at those. Sometimes you get one like that.
Game point. Simply a shot that Mats Wilander will 9 times out of 10 make. He has not played well. He has not passed well. His returns of serve have not been near as authoritative as they normally are. Stefan Edberg, yes, has played very well. Has not made errors. But Wilander's not himself.
And very efficiently, I think, might be the word for Edberg. He hasn't tried to do anything too brash. And his opponents just made a lot of unforced errors today.
Advantage Wilander.
Edberg has been asked why he doesn't play like that normal garden variety Swedish baseliner, and he said until he was about 14 or 14 and a half, he had it to hit a backhand. but he had no real luck with it.
Game Wilander.
Wilander wins serve, but he trails in the third set.
Oh, and it dropped in.
Love 15.
And of course, the crowd wanting this match to go quite a while longer. It's a work day here in Australia with the matches washed out yesterday.
Yes,
And
another one from Wilander.
Love 30.
This is the first time he's had trouble on serve the entire match, pretty much.
Absolutely. Been at 30 all a few times on serve, but he has not yet faced break point on his own delivery.
Out. 15-30.
Again, Wilander took the bit between his teeth there. He had a good shot at a second serve. Decided to go for it. And it was again that high kicking variety of serve that tried to take around the shoulder height. Very tough to control.
I think Wielander's got to go for them, though. Down the line again.
$15-40.
High kicker again, but Wilander threads the needle down the line. This is the first opportunity he's had to get a couple of break points, and he makes the running forehand.
Quiet, please.
$15-40. Long. You knew that was going into the forehand side. I mentioned to you at the outset that's what his plan was going to be. He has been pretty consistent with the forehand side when he serves to the deuce court. He keeps Mats honest when he gets ahead sometimes, but when he really needs it, you know where he's going to go. Still break point. Into the body.
Deuce.
Well, he's really fought back from adversity in a lot of matches this week. Couple of match points we mentioned down against Australia's Wally Masur. In trouble. A great match yesterday against Lendl. And he's come up with two big first serves when he needed it here.
And a third gives him a chance to serve for this game to go ahead 5-3. A lot has been said about these grass courts and the condition that they were on as you watch this replay here with Edberg putting the overhead away. You won't hear too much from these guys. I was thinking about having my guys come over from Fisher Island just off Miami. The grass courts, 3 of them are in perfect condition.
Oh.
Game
on the line, and Edberg in trouble. 2 break points. Comes right back. Boy, that was unbelievable stuff when he really needed it.
Edberg leads 5-3.
He pinpoints that one, and you can see the cloud of dust.
Quiet, please.
Edberg is doing to Mats what Slobodan Zivojinovic was able to do to him at Wimbledon. He just hustled him right off the court.
Mary, you finally pronounced it right. Well done.
Love 15.
Just kidding. I'm the one who's had trouble.
So I think we're all going to have to get used to pronouncing that name. I don't think that guy's going away, old Bobo.
Not on grass, he's not. He's a great player. Good game for the surface.
Oh, yes. He anticipated that one beautifully down the line. Takes it on the forehand volley.
30.
Very nice finesse on the forehand volley. 2 points away from his first Grand Slam championship. Remember, this is the first time he's been in the final. Yesterday was the first time he'd been in a semi-final of a Grand Slam event.
It'll be good. And Mats can just not get 2 at 3 match points for Edberg. I wonder if he can believe it himself. If Wilander loses one of these next 3 points, this will be the first time he has lost a match on this centre court. The Kooyong Tennis Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. 1 day delayed final because of the rain that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Match point.
(15-40).
You'll see Stefan Edberg for sure if you join us for the Davis Cup final between Germany and Sweden, because he will no doubt, after this performance, winning his first Grand Slam title, just 19 years old, be there for his country against Boris Boom Boom Becker and the rest of the German squad. Stefan Edberg in 3 easy sets against Mats Wilander, who was going for his 3rd in a row. Fred Stolle, Mary Carrillo, I'd like you both to address yourself to this question, please. Boris Becker won at Wimbledon. I think that he's a legitimate contender for the #1 spot that Ivan Lendl now holds, and John McEnroe is, of course, just right behind him. Does this win make Edberg put him in a similar position?
I think, Cliff, that this win elevates this young man into that category. However, on a fast surface, I still feel that he has to prove his point on the slower clay courts in Europe. Basically, the Europeans, the Swedes, have been, or supposedly, slow court players. But Edberg does not have that double-handed backhand. He is an aggressive type player. By his own admission, likes to play on the faster courts. And the 2 victories that he's had over Mats Wilander has been on the faster surface. I think he's up there. I think we're going to hear a lot more of him. And I think he'll be a great Australian champion.
Mary Carrillo?
Well, Cliff, I don't really see that much difference, really, between Stefan Edberg and Boris Becker at this stage. You know, they can play brilliant tennis. They can play better than anyone else in the world at times, and yet I think they still are too young to put it together week after week. So, though Edberg might take a few losses every now and then that he shouldn't, as will Boris, yes, one day I think they'll be at the very top.
It was Stefan Edberg over Mats Wilander, both from Sweden. 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. $100,000. $50,000 to the runner-up. On the 20th of December, join us for the Davis Cup, please. Edberg will be there, Wilander will be there, and so will Boris Becker. For Fred Stolle and Mary Carrillo at courtside, it has been fun working with you, and I thank you all at home for joining.